Welcome everyone to the Extraordinary Coaches podcast. Today I'm here with Sam. It's really a pleasure to have you. I know you through Mandy, who I recorded the podcast with as well. And then I found you on TikTok, and the things that you're saying, I absolutely love it. The way that you go about life, I really like it. I read your book. You got another book that came out this week, I believe. How would you introduce yourself to people?
Oh, it's such a funny question. I would introduce myself as Sam, and then usually people ask me what I do, and I say whatever I want. So, yeah, I mean, coaching, writing books, making content, anything that I feel like doing, I do. And one of my favorite things to do is tell people what they don't really want to hear on the internet. So that's me.
I love that. I think that's the first conversation I had with you, which was 2 days ago, is just 20 minutes. And what I just love about the way that you go into a conversation, you're just so honest. Like, you just reflect me back to me, and I feel confronted as fuck. And you can just sit there and hold space for that, and at the same time not really care. I still haven't figured out what it is. How would you describe what you do? Like, how do you do that?
Oh, so I do that because that has been done for me. And I say for me, not to me, because I, needed it and I wanted it and I created that for myself so I could grow. But I have to give all the props to my partner, Andra, who doesn't have a social media account, but he's one of the three in this little team that's building this whole phase 2 brand. He's my partner. We've been together for about 5 years, and he's just like the way I am times 10 with the confrontation and the honesty. And being with him for so long, I've definitely picked up on that, but it's changed my life for the better in so many ways. And I just feel like to be able to express myself in that way and be that for people, the mirror, the brick wall, so to speak, is different, but so valuable for myself and everyone.
Right. Do you want to go into the history a little bit of like how that happened, and with Manny and Andre, and how did that come about?
Yeah, sure. So Andre and I met back in 2019, and we were kind of both in the same boat. I won't talk too much about his experience. You can ask him. But we weren't doing super well, and we met in this online class about sales because we both wanted to change our life and do something different. And from then on, we were just together. Like, I like to joke about how our relationship started. We met up to meet in person for the first time because we'd met online, and ever since that day we've spent every day together.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's been years, so that was really cool. But anyway, about 3 years went by in our relationship, and he had just like taken off like a rocket way at the beginning. He started making millions and millions of dollars, negotiating and doing sales and stuff, just so successful. And I'm sitting there like, how are you doing this? What are you doing? How is this happening? And the whole time I'm watching him just sit there, play video games all day. He's not working hard. He's not leaving the house. He's not hustling, not grinding on anything. But I am. Like, I'm constantly doing shit, constantly working, going places, talking to people, just the hustle, and still broke. So eventually we had so much conflict and so much disagreement. He was trying to help me, trying to teach me. It just got to a point where I gave up. I was like, I quit. I don't know what I'm doing. Obviously, what I'm doing is not working. Can you help me? And he did. And that was when I started listening to him about phase 2 and applying it myself. And then I was like, it was my idea to start the business and write the books and stuff. So we did that. And just in 1 year, 2023, everything just exploded for me and took off. Cool. And I couldn't have done it without him, first of all, and he couldn't have done it without me. And then Mandy came along. She was one of my followers for a few years. I don't know if she told you this story. And she came to our first retreat that we hosted in May last year. And from there, it was just like she was hooked. She was hooked. And because she lived only a few hours away, we invited her to come out and like get mentorship. Because why not, right? That's the whole thing about this. We love sharing it with people. And it was just stuck. So now she's part of the team.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a crazy story.
Yeah, it's nice. How did you because so you went through this whole experience of like the struggle and the grinding, and then suddenly life was easy.
Suddenly, yeah.
What's the magic word? What happened?
The magic word is that it never had to be hard in the first place. We just accept the idea that it is hard and it has to be hard. And it's funny because when you look at kids, like children, you know, they just have fun all day. They do whatever they want and they're taken care of. It's just automatic. But for whatever reason, when we grow up and become adults and take on these responsibilities, we switch our perception of ourselves from, oh, I'm taken care of, to I'm basically screwed if I don't work really hard and figure my shit out. So, yeah, it never had to be hard. We just accepted the idea.
Right. And you have so many of those sort of controversial truths in a way where you just say the opposite of what is actually, or what can be experienced, whether it's true or not. I don't know. But I love that. And I feel like when it comes to coaching, am I correct in assuming that you never actually learned how to coach? Like you never did an education when it comes to all of that?
Nope. I find it completely unnecessary. Coaching is, it's mostly about listening and just being able to say what you know you want to say and what needs to be said. And the other part to it, of course, is growing yourself. You can't be a very effective coach if you don't, you know, pay attention to yourself, because the only thing you can identify in your client is what you've identified in yourself.
Right.
So does it take a certificate to gain self-awareness? No. Does it take a certificate to listen? No. Does it take a certificate to say what you want to say? No. So
right. That's cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you had the confidence straight away when you got started?
That's an interesting question. I personally think confidence is bullshit.
I knew you were going to say something like that. I love it. Sorry, please continue.
Do you mind if I swear on this podcast?
I don't mind at all.
Okay, great, because I have a sailor's mouth. Yeah. Confidence is an interesting thing. So it's a third step. So we say the golden rule is if it's more than 2 steps, it's too complicated.
Yeah.
So when you introduce confidence, it creates a third step. And what I mean by that is when you have the idea to do something, the next step is to take action. But when you say, oh, I need to be more confident in order to take action, you've added the third step in between the idea and the execution.
Right.
So
yeah.
At the beginning, I didn't really want to coach. I wanted to write. You know, I love writing. I love making content. And the coaching kind of came about as I started to feel the enjoyment in calling people out on their bullshit.
Right. Because you started all of this on TikTok, right? By doing just that.
Yeah. I don't know how far back you want to go with social media, but with the phase 2 thing, I was on Instagram and TikTok at the very beginning. Yeah.
Fun. I like that. It's also because I wasn't sure if I wanted to get into this, but I'm just going to say it anyway.
Yeah.
Before the podcast, I was sort of, I don't want to call it nervous, but I'm going to call it nervous anyway, because and then I realized that I was being nervous, and then I was thinking what you would say, obviously something about me creating some story as to, you know, why I need to appear a certain way, which is what makes me nervous. And I just love those concepts where either when you talk about confidence or not, or nervousness or things like that, it's indeed sort of an extra step in between that you just don't need. You just need to do it. I love how simple that is. Do you want to go into that nervousness a bit?
Yeah, sure. Nervousness, just like anything, is just energy. Like the energy you have to do the podcast, but you add the label to it. You say, oh, I'm nervous. And the label nervous comes with all the stories that you just described. Oh, I don't know what she's going to say. She's going to call me out on something. I have to present myself a certain way so that I have this result or whatever.
Yeah.
When you could avoid literally all of that just by not labeling the feeling you have, the energy that you feel. Same thing with anxiety, anger, sadness, whatever, happiness. It's all just labels, and each label has stories attached to it. So, I mean, I definitely felt things before getting on the podcast too. Like, it's not just you. Everyone does. So
you just don't label them. You just go with the feeling.
Yeah. And it's not something that started, it's not like an instantaneous shift. At least it wasn't for me, because the labeling is such a deeply ingrained thing that we do. We've been taught for years, like, what are you feeling? What do you feel? What are you telling yourself? But just to make that switch and stop doing that takes a little bit of awareness.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you have an exercise for that?
For
Apart
not
from
labeling.
awareness, yeah.
See, the funny thing about it is it's really just paying attention. Like, no matter what you do throughout your entire day, just pay attention to how you feel when you're doing it. And usually we give this exercise to people in the specific area of money, like spending money, making money. How do you feel when someone hands you 20 bucks? How do you feel when you're about to swipe your card for something you don't think you can afford? How do you feel? That's all just self-awareness. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter what label you would apply to it or what stories you're really telling yourself. The point is, are you aware that you're telling yourself?
Right.
And labeling.
Cool. That's what I really like about the book and the whole phase 2 thing. It's not so much about making people change or getting them to be a different person than who they are.
Yeah.
It's just about the awareness of that which they are.
Yeah.
How do you
Exactly.
explain that awareness just changes your life? Like how does that work on a quantum level?
Yeah. So you can't change something if you don't know you're doing it in the first place. Like, if you don't realize that every time you go to swipe your card, you think to yourself, oh, I hope this goes through, you can't stop yourself from thinking that,
Right.
which is as simple as being like, oh, why am I even worried about this? If you can get yourself to a point of awareness where you realize you don't know the things you think you know, stopping is effortless. It's kind of like if a friend told you some information, the date of a party or whatever, and then you find out the party's on a different date. Is it hard for you to stop believing that the party is on the original date? No, it's just like, oh, okay. And it's really easy.
I like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm sort of imagining now, or sort of assuming that you really go through your whole day as like this crazy conscious person, like conscious of everything she feels and does, and is that true, or how would you explain it?
Nope.
You just do.
I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect at all. Even just this morning, I was sitting with myself and I thought to myself, wow, I should do this more. No, it's not like that. Do I have more self-awareness than I did before? Absolutely. Do I notice the stories I'm telling myself? Yeah, not all of them, but it's always going to be like that. You'll never get to a point where you don't have bullshit. It's just different bullshit, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. What's the most recent bullshit story that you told yourself?
Ooh, most recent bullshit story I told myself.
Or just a fun one, just an example.
A fun one? Okay, yeah. So man, this is really funny. Mandy and I had this, we're so excited to do this. We're basically going to make a quantum weight loss or like quantum body image type. We're still working on the name. Product course thing. And we were out shopping yesterday, just kind of walking around, and I found these candles that are just like female figure candles. And I thought to myself, it would be so fun to tell people who buy the course to have either a sculptor sculpt them nude or like model for a figure drawing class nude. And the funny thing about that is, like, if we make this course, it's for us. It's not for everyone else. We can only make products for ourselves, right?
Right.
So I basically was suggesting to myself that I do that, and it brought up so much bullshit. Which is funny because I studied art in college, and I've been to figure drawing classes as a drawer, as an artist. So I've seen how it goes, and it's not a problem. No one really cares. But being on the other side of it brings up a lot of stories.
Are you gonna do it?
I don't know. We'll see.
Fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel like now that you're aware of that, you would sort of, I mean, what I can imagine is now that you, it's sort of your work, right? To teach this to other people. And now that you've learned something like that about yourself, don't you feel like now you got to live it through the end? Else,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so you put yourself
So
in an interesting situation right there.
yeah,
I know you said
but
it
the
on the
funny
podcast,
part,
so
yeah, the funny part is like, why does it even matter? Why is it such a big deal? Like, why do we tell ourselves these things are such a problem? And, I don't have an answer yet because I'm still sorting through my bullshit in that regard and becoming aware of why I think it's a problem, what I'm telling myself, etc. But yeah, if I'm going to tell people to do that, I better be able to do it myself.
crazy.
Yeah.
I just think it's fascinating, the whole I mean, sort of my journey went in a way where I learned about spirituality and things like that, and this whole new world opened to my eyes, and I thought that was like the truth, only to go through all that and realize that you're just reconditioning yourself with new beliefs and new things, and now then you get to this stage where you realize that there's still so many things that you're telling yourself that are just, you're the only one who's like, it's all happening in here.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it from like the big picture, as in we're all here on Earth, what is the point of this? What's the point of limiting ourselves? Why do we have these stories? What is the grand scheme of things?
So it's to experience more. And this is all just my opinion, of course. There's, like you said at the beginning of this podcast, no one knows what the truth is. Whatever you decide is true to you. So from our perspective, consciousness, the force behind all of this, the energy behind all of it, just wants to experience more limitations, more unlimitation, more money, more friends, more connections, more relationships, more, so this brings in the idea of what you focus on expands. What are you creating more of? And if you focus on your limitations, you just get more limitations. But if you focus on, what am I telling myself? Oh, let me stop telling myself that. You get more of something else because it can't be that anymore. So that's the way we see it. And, the idea that the other thing to, at least from my perspective, is to an unlimited being like consciousness, whatever that is, whatever it looks like, being limited is one of the most exciting things you could possibly experience. It's the contrast to your whole existence.
Right.
So when people ask me, like, why would I choose to limit myself? That's the answer I give. Well, because it's fun. It's interesting to see what you can overcome, what you can do, what you can convince yourself of.
I like that.
Yeah.
What it brought up was, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Daryl Anka, Bashar.
Yeah.
He said something along the lines of, we're masters of limitations to become masters of limitation. And I love that in a way, because indeed we're so limiting ourselves in a way to, well, not to, like, is there a point to it all? Like, if there's only a more and more and more, does it ever end?
I don't know.
No, okay,
Does
yeah,
it need to?
yeah,
Like, yeah, we get caught up in these ideas, trying to understand, like what we're doing right now is just trying to understand something instead of just having this experience, which we came here to have. Like, we're the same being, we're the same consciousness. We could be just the same person, connect, have any ideas exchange between us, even feelings exchange between us, like telepathy. But we tell ourselves we need this phone to communicate. Like,
right.
the experience is happening now.
Fun. That's what I love about the book. And I've only read one, but it's so, there was this period in my life where I was so trying to gather more information and just learn and learn and learn and wanting to have that experience. And your book is written in such a way where I feel like experience just happens naturally after you read the book. You have to implement, or you just implement it. You can't do, like, you can't just read it, put it away, forget about it, never again think about it. It's such a, I mean, let's put a label on it and say life-changing, but it's such a that's what I love, because I realized I don't need to look for more information outside of myself. I don't need more books. And I was realizing that, and I hadn't read a new book in like months until yours came on my path, and I was like, I'm gonna read it, and then I read it like 4 times, and now I feel like don't read it anymore, just go and live it, because you know enough. And I think that is interesting too.
It's 100%. Yes, absolutely. To add more information to what you think you know instead of paying attention to what you're telling yourself is to delude yourself completely in the personal growth area.
But then we could say that those books are written by other versions of me, and so they make me aware of other parts of myself. Is that true in your reality too, or how would you?
Well, sure, everyone is another aspect of you, but the point is to pay attention to your experience, what you are telling yourself in this moment, and to adopt somebody else's stories by reading their book. You can do that, sure, but you're still not paying attention to your experience, which is kind of why we wrote our book, to get people to pay attention to their experience.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a smart one. Could you, for anyone who hasn't read the book yet and is listening to this, could you please give a short summary or talk a bit about it?
Yeah, so very basically, Quantum Networking, which is our first book, describes how we use judgments, comparisons, and expectations to limit ourselves. It's those 3 things are the foundation of all limitations we experience. And if you let go of them, if you start paying attention to where they come up, you are unlimiting yourself. That's quantum networking.
Nice. Cool. And so you would say those judgments, expectations, and
comparisons.
I've read it 4 times, but I don't remember what I read. No, that in the end sort of leads to getting more money. How do those 2? How does that work?
Yeah. So, well, what even is more money? And second, how would your life be better? At least, what do you tell yourself? How would your life be better if you had more money? That's an expectation. Why don't you have more money? Well, because I'm not good enough. I don't have enough skills. That's a judgment. Oh, this person is more skilled than me. That's why they have more money. That's why I am where I am. That's a comparison. It's just like every story you tell yourself is one of the 3 or all 3. So when you start noticing that, holy shit, I'm just judging. I'm just having an expectation. I'm just having a comparison. Oh my God, the energy that starts to come back to you, like I'm feeling it right now, is just like you can feel yourself no longer creating the experience you're having. The energy that you were using to create the simulation of having not enough money starts to come back to you, and you can physically feel this happening. I love this shit. And and with that energy, you can do anything else, literally anything. It's the same energy that you'd use to run a marathon, like I like to say. So when you're no longer doing the same shit you were doing before and putting the same energy into the same experiences, you have to have a different experience. And this is what I experienced when my money experience changed practically overnight. I went from 0 to 10K in 4 weeks. My first $10,000 month, my first 5-figure month happened 4 weeks after I paid the rent, or rather Andre paid the rent because he sent me money, and I had like $3 left in my account. It was insane. Like, so fast, because I just stopped bullshitting myself.
What was the biggest story that you told yourself around that?
Around money? That I had to work hard to make it. If I had to compare stories, yeah, that was definitely the one, because I accepted the idea that the more money you make, the harder you have to work. And I worked really hard to make money. So when I let go of that and I realized that, oh, I could just make a post on Instagram, go to sleep, wake up the next morning, and I made $500, like, oh, wow, I guess I don't know anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Fun. So would you say that you proved yourself wrong, or would you say that you already believed something else and then the experience happened because of that? Chicken or the egg?
It was that I proved myself wrong. Beliefs are always bullshit. Belief systems, BS, bullshit. Even the word belief has the word lie in it.
I didn't know that one. I like that.
Yeah, it's never about beliefs. A lot of people talk about changing your beliefs and affirming and reprogramming your beliefs and shit, but we completely get away from that. Just stop telling yourself what you're telling yourself. The beliefs that you have, identify them and then question them until you realize you don't know it's true. Drop it. Empty your brain. We encourage people to be stupid. It's a judgment, because when you're stupid, when you don't know how things work, how anything works, anything can work. That's the point.
That is a good one.
Mm.
I love that.
Mm.
I feel like I realized a while ago too the limitation of affirmations, things like that. You know, telling yourself things that like are just not true.
Yeah.
Do you have another? Yeah, I'm going to go back to exercise. Do you have another exercise that you can, or like something practical that people can use to stop telling themselves stuff?
Yeah, for sure. It's just questioning. So let's say you tell yourself, oh, I don't look good in a bikini or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
How do I know I don't look good in a bikini or a swimsuit, whatever it is? How do I know I don't look good? Well, when I look in the mirror, I don't like what I see. Well, why don't I like what I see? Well, because I have these rolls or I'm shaped this way. Well, why? How do I know this doesn't look good? Where did I get this idea from? I guess I got it from society. I was taught that this doesn't look good. Well, from who? How do they know what looks good and what doesn't look good? I don't know. I have no idea.
Right.
Where did I get this idea from? That's it. That's the exercise.
Fun. I like that one. And indeed, when you look in the mirror and you feel a certain way about your body, it's also just a feeling. So you don't even have to label that.
Exactly.
Might be
Yeah.
beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I like that. Pretty good idea that you guys are. What was it? Make an exercise thing or writing a book or?
Mandy and I are creating a course. That's Andra, by the way. A course for quantum. Just quantum is like the brand, whatever. Body image, weight loss, etc.
Powerful. Did you used to struggle with that, or how did you get to that topic?
We both do still. So we got past a lot of stuff. The money stuff is out of the way. The relationship stuff is out of the way. And now it was just yesterday. We were like, well, what do we want to make? What's something new we could do that'd be really fun? And that was Mandy's idea. And I instantly was like, yeah, okay. Because like I said earlier, I can only teach people things that I do myself and I'm aware of within myself. So this is an expansion for us, something we haven't addressed before.
Cool. Inspiring.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like it. How would you say that like an average coaching session of yours goes? Like, so also how much do you charge an hour?
500.
Okay. And then people, what do you do? What does it look like?
Talk. Honestly, coaching is not one of my preferred things to do, which is, there's some bullshit there, of course. Mandy loves coaching. Andre likes coaching. I like being a face and making content and bringing people in. That's my strength. I love being the representative. But when I do take coaching calls, yeah, it's just a conversation. It's me listening to you. And when you say something that you're obviously not questioning, I'll question it for you. And then you're forced to question it. That's pretty much how it goes. That's
a good way to put it. That people come to you with things that they don't question themselves, and so you question it for them. I like that. Thanks for saying that.
Of course.
And then another topic that you know, well, I know that you're passionate about it. Appreciation.
Yeah.
How did you get to that? How was it that appreciation is sort of also one of the keys to this whole phase 2 thing?
Well, some people call it gratitude, but our perception is a little different. And if, most people know gratitude is important, but appreciation is basically looking at your experience and accepting that you created it. Whereas gratitude is looking at your experience and thinking, oh, I'm lucky to have all these things. I'm privileged. Appreciation is, I created this for myself. These are the conditions that I accepted for myself. My conditions are that I have hot running water anytime I want. I have a roof over my head. I have a car that works. I have money in the bank. I can fill up my food with fridge and have extra, you know, those are the conditions I accepted. And I appreciate myself for accepting that for me. So when you can do that, when you're willing to look at your life and say, I did this for me, of course you're going to get more. Of course you're going to ask for more. You're going to want more. You're going to expand on what you've got. But when you're looking at it like, oh, I'm just lucky to have these things, you kind of get stuck, in my perspective, at least.
Interesting. Because what immediately came up was that I remember that going to South Africa and then coming back, many people told me like, oh, now you must realize how lucky you are, you know, that you get to experience all these things. And I think that's funny because other people use different language and they were like, oh, well, now you can appreciate it in a different way. And only now that you said this distinction became clear between the people that, you know, used one language and people who use the other language. Do you feel like appreciation can be forced, like affirmations can be, or like those types of things?
It can if you look at it from a certain perspective. So if you force yourself to appreciate things by trying to find the good in everything, good being a judgment, right? And you're like, oh, I don't see how I could appreciate this, I don't know, my house catching on fire or whatever it is. I don't see how I could appreciate that. Well, yeah, you're going to try to force yourself to do it. But what we teach when it comes to appreciation is you got to have that experience. You got to feel all the feelings associated with the experience of your house catching on fire. It doesn't mean it's positive or negative. That's where people get caught up and really limit themselves when they start thinking, oh, this is a negative experience, but this is positive. This is good. This is bad. When you let go of all that and you just see yourself as having all of these unlimited feelings, unlimited experiences, it's like, oh, I get to experience this. I get to experience this. I get to experience this for me. So, and when you look at it that way, that's when you open yourself up to changing your perception and your perspective on what's happening. Maybe if your house catches on fire, you're like, wow, I really could pay more attention to what I've got going on. I should slow down. Maybe you left the fucking stove on and the towel caught on fire. Like, slow down. You are always creating opportunities to pay attention to yourself and learn something new about yourself. But as soon as you switch into victim mode and you're like, oh, God damn it. Like, this sucks. This happens to me. You completely overlook all of the growth opportunities there.
Right. You're saying so many good things. But then if I may challenge you for a bit, that there's many people who would say like, oh, this family member passed away and I didn't create that, and like that is happening to me, and I like, why would I do that to myself? What would you say to those people, or how do you react to that?
How do you know you wouldn't do that for yourself? I mean, the perspective of, oh, this happened to me is the victimhood perspective. So why would I create this for myself? I don't know. I don't know why you would create this for yourself, but you're still having an experience, which, like I just said, everything is just experiences. And you start labeling positive, negative, good, bad, that's when you get caught up and you lose the opportunity to grow. So to look at everything as just an experience and to appreciate, because everyone fucking dies. Like, that's what happens, you know. To appreciate life, maybe that happened because you were completely overlooking the fact that you get to live. And you don't even have to figure out why. It's not necessary. What matters is, can you allow yourself to feel this experience? Can you allow yourself to grow and hold this? Because everything is just more and more and more energy. $100,000 is 100,000 units of energy, like we like to say. It's not actually units, but $1 million is 1 million units. If you want to love someone deeply, you have to allow yourself to feel that. And if you always had these really comfortable experiences and no one ever died and nothing ever really happened, nothing ever really challenged you or pushed you, you couldn't expand your capacity to feel.
Nice.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the fact that you're alive. Like, you get to experience that. You gave yourself that experience.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And so did they. The person who died, they got to have their experience too, but that's none of your business. You have your experience.
True. Nice.
Yeah.
I like that. I like this conversation. It's some things are, well, I would say new, but just from a different light on the same topic. I like that. That's fresh.
Yeah. Thanks. I love this too.
Do you have anywhere that you want to take this, or do you have anything that you want to add or say, or is anything coming up for you?
Let's see. You're the source of everything. I'll just leave it at that, you know. For those of you who are listening, and you too, Mick, you are the source of your entire experience. And every single thing that happens, you are creating for you to experience so you can grow through it. I just made a post about this on Instagram recently that, you know, to have a preference or to want something different for your life is always a lie. It's always bullshit. Oh, I prefer to have more money is not true. I prefer to be in a relationship is also not true. You're lying to yourself because what you're giving yourself in your experience is exactly what you need to grow through so that you can have a different experience. And to skip over that or to pretend that you can just skip over it is to delude yourself and completely ignore the fact that you're creating that for you to grow through. So yeah, that's all for me.
But then how is it a lie? Like, how am I lying to myself? Okay, wait, I can see that. So what you're saying is that, let's say I say that I want a certain experience, but because I don't have the experience at the moment, you would say, well, apparently you don't want it, else you would have it already. But then how would you then just, like, what am I doing then? As in, I clearly feel like I want that, so I'm not consciously lying.
So you want that because you are telling yourself that that different experience will make your life better in some way. Oh, if I have more money, you may not be aware of this. People usually aren't aware of this, but what you think you want is because you think it'll make your life better, and it won't. People make millions and millions of dollars and realize they're still miserable. People get into a relationship and realize they still have the same self-esteem problems or whatever it is. No matter what you appear to have outside of yourself, any turmoil within you is because you're focusing on the turmoil. That's what you're creating for yourself. More money is not going to change that. A new relationship won't change that. Losing weight won't change that. You just tell yourself, oh, I'll feel better when I have this thing. I want this thing. No, you want to feel better now. You want what you have now so you can grow through it. You're just telling yourself you don't.
Okay, so let's make it practical and say that my car is broken, doesn't drive anymore. I want to drive my car, but I can't. So I want to I want my car to be fixed.
How do you think that would make your life better?
Well, then I can drive.
Okay. Why don't you ask someone else to pick you up, or maybe borrow someone else's car?
Well, so my life would be better because I don't have to do that. I can just take my own car.
Why are you avoiding doing that? Do you feel like you can't even do that in the first place?
What? Get someone
Ask for
else's
help.
car. I would feel like that's just a bit of a hassle, right? I just want my car to be fixed so that I don't have to. Because I'm just trying to challenge you here from this perspective. So you would say that I'm just because I want it this way, I'm sort of blinding myself for all the other things that I could also do that could even be better than what I think solving the car would be.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
It's like what I was just saying. You create your own growth opportunities. If you can't ask for help, of course you want your car back. Of course you want to be able to drive your own car. because then you can avoid expanding and reaching out for assistance and making a relationship with somebody deeper or better, because now you get to talk to them, like whatever. It could be literally anything.
Right.
You're just avoiding that.
Cool. So basically the whole thing is just deal with what the fuck you have right now.
Use your resources. Yeah, you have to use your resources. You have them to be used.
I also think there's many people who don't realize like what resources can be.
Yeah.
In a way that you have a voice and can ask for stuff. That is a massive resource that many people don't use.
Yes, and that's why their lives are the way they are.
What's the best way to tap into those things? Is it just the awareness that you have them?
Well, yeah, if you're not aware that you do have them, of course, you're not going to use them. So I would take the time to become aware of what your resources even are, and maybe ask around, ask what your resources are. Hey, who are you connected to? Is there any way you can help me with this thing? But people don't do that.
Yeah, that's so true. Because of all
the bullshit.
assumptions and
Mm-hmm.
funny. I love how this all comes together.
Yeah.
Nice. So, as one of my final questions, how do all the books align? Why do I need all the books and not just the one that I have?
You don't need all of them. We wrote them to stand on their own. So each book is a different experience. Some of them refer to things in other books, but you don't necessarily need all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I just like writing books. That's why we wrote 4 of them. So there's specific topics in each. Quantum networking is it's like an introduction to everything. Really good place to start. Quantum cash is about money in phase 2, which is a completely different perspective on it than any other book I've seen. And then quantum wealth, which is the 3rd one, is about using your intuition. And the most recent one, quantum living, is where we start to talk about health and happiness, not just the wealth and intuition part.
Nice.
Yeah. I
like it.
Thanks.
Good series. I love the quantum. You can put anything behind quantum and it sounds better.
Sounds great. Yeah.
It's maybe my judgment, but I love that.
Thank you.
But you didn't study anything related to, as in study like uni or things like that, anything related to quantum physics or anything like that? No, right?
No, I've had this conversation multiple times recently with people where a lot of the quantum manifestation stuff that's taught talks about, like, the first thing is always, atoms. Everything is atoms. Everything is energy. But I don't really see how that helps anyone. It's not very practical.
I don't think I've seen it in the book either.
Yeah. So we don't need to study that, because it doesn't matter. What matters is what are you putting your energy into? Your judgments, expectations, comparisons. What stories are you telling yourself? It's all literally just your attention. What are you telling yourself? What are you believing? What are you reacting to every time? Creation and reaction are the same thing. That's
right.
practical.
Can you, because I've heard you say that one before, creation and reaction are the same thing, also because of the little letter difference. Could you go deeper into that for a moment?
Yeah, the things that you react to are what you create more of. If you were to stop reacting to, say, running out of money, if you just no longer gave any fucks about it, you're just like, okay, whatever, we'll see what happens. What do I want to do right now? What do I feel like doing? I want to read a book and have a cup of coffee. Okay, do that. Then you no longer are creating money issues. But as soon as you're like, oh, fuck, I got to figure out how to make more money. I got to check my account. I got to make sure I got enough for this. You're constantly reacting to the same experience over and over again. So when you remove your reaction, something new has to happen. And like we talked about earlier in this podcast, you can feel your energy coming out of that experience and back into your body. And you use that energy to do literally anything other than continue to react to that experience.
I like that. It reminded me of when I was in high school. I used to suffer from acne, and I had this whole skincare routine, and I used to like be obsessed with the way that my skin looked, and I bought all these products and everything, and put everything on my face just to get rid of the acne,
Yeah.
And at some point I was like, it literally doesn't matter what I put on my body. It's not going to go away anyway. I'm just gonna stop. I don't want to do it anymore. So I threw everything away. I was like, fuck this. I have acne regardless, so I'll own it. And that's when the acne started to go away. And
Exactly.
I was really fascinated by that because I was like, that's so interesting. Once you sort of stop caring, or like once you just let it be, it doesn't need to be there anymore. The experience is empty. Then it's like it has no use in a way.
It has no energy. Yeah, it's like unplugging a lamp. When you unplug the lamp, it has to turn off. There's no more energy.
That's cool. I like that. Thanks for sharing that.
Of course.
I want to ask you my last question, just because I ask it to everyone, and I'm kind of curious what you're going to say. Also, because I'm going to compare it to the answer Mandy gave, because I just think that's fun. What is, in your opinion, an extraordinary coach?
To me, an extraordinary coach. Oh, there's so many things. An extraordinary coach is someone who always says what they feel like they want to say, no matter how the other person may react to it. And an extraordinary coach is someone who does what they preach, who does all the exercises that they offer to their clientele. To me.
That's it?
Yeah.
Nice. Mandy really had trouble answering this question because she was like, it's a label. It's just a label. What's your thoughts on that?
It's true, it is a label, but it is a label. I do feel like there are coaches, and they're really just aspects of me, who don't say what they want to say and who don't do what they preach. Does that make them extraordinary? Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. What does extraordinary even mean? But yeah, you're right. It is a label.
Yeah, I like that. That question, what does that even mean? It can be so helpful.
Yeah.
Like the even to bring it back to the nervousness aspect. I'm feeling nervous. What does that like? What about nervousness is exactly nervousness? I love that, and it came back in the book too. I really like it. Thanks for doing this, Sam. I really love this conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was really fun.
I enjoyed it, and thank you everyone for listening. And we'll see you at the next one.
Yes, thanks.